Good evening, and this is a special edition of Street and Stimulus, appearing right before Being a Mitch, which is coming up taped within minutes. Being a Mitch will be coming up in about 10 minutes after this video ends, and this is a special recording of Street and Stimulus. In this doubleheader between this and the next recording, you're going to see that LA's reporting, which I've been detailing over the last 3 days, is now confirmed by the New York Times. On Friday, I detailed to you that Mitch McConnell is the new lead negotiator for your second stimulus on behalf of the Republican Party. And now, on Saturday, I confirmed that Joe Biden is the lead negotiator for the Democrats going forward. But today, the New York Times confirmed both those details and also confirmed my reporting about the long-standing relationship between these parties. The incredible great news as you sit here tonight is that Joe Biden is doing Purple Power. Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell have a long-standing history of doing everything that embodies the true spirit of positivity and bipartisan push of this channel, and that they're going to be doing this right away. Let me get to the breaking details tonight. In this recording of Street and Stimulus, I will go over why Wall Street believes that a stimulus package is going to be coming very quickly. Then I'll be going over why the New York Times is now confirming basically all the reporting I've detailed for you over the last 3 days. And then finally, I'll be telling you what you should be expecting over the next few days this coming week, because there's a lot of breaking details. And then finally, join me for Check at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time tonight, in which I detail really jaw-dropping great news across the board, and for a live edition of Purple Power minutes before that at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. In this recording, there's so much to hit to, but let me get to the real breaking news right now. The breaking news is that Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden will be negotiating your second stimulus package. That Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell have a long-standing history. That long-standing history started them when they were both junior senators in Congress. It's been a decades-long relationship. And as time progressed, Mitch and Joe got used to how to deal with the opposite side. And that long-standing history dates back to 2011, in which Joe Biden called up Mitch McConnell when a very similar situation to the now situation was manifesting. At the time, Joe Biden and President Obama were elect. They were not yet president and VP. They were President-elect Biden, President-elect Obama, and VP-elect Joe Biden. And the concern was the falling, collapsing, and concern about the banking industry. It had literally tinkered to the very end. And so in late July, with the economy shaking, Treasury default only a few days away, and Congress is flailing, reports the New York Times, Senator Mitch McConnell received a Saturday phone call from Joe Biden, then vice president. Quote, "I think it's time we talk," Biden told McConnell. And McConnell recounts this in his memoir, The Long Game. What's important to understand is at the time, it was a transition period. The election had just been announced, and that Joe Biden was preparing for the entrance to the White House with Barack Obama. A situation of emergency was upon us, and that situation was the banking industry. Now, what's important is that the situation is much similar. There's an emergency upon us, and the need to do deals is manifest right now. What Mitch McConnell saw in the days thereafter was no different what the two sides have been doing for years. And that's why Wall Street's so excited for a stimulus package to get passed very quickly. Mitch McConnell says that Joe Biden doesn't waste his time telling him what's wrong. And in a statement issued today, Susan Collins, the re-elected GOP senator, says Joe and Mitch have a lot of good relationships. I think there's a real hunger for the Senate to begin debating legislation and starting to get things done and vote and have philosophical decisions made on the floor. Richard Durbin of Illinois, the number 2 Senate Democrat, says that there have been other Mitches over time. Is this going to be the Mitch McConnell of the one-term Obama threats, or going to be a different Mitch McConnell? I really don't know. What he's referring to is that Mitch McConnell, when he did get testy during the second term of Barack Obama, that he said, how do you want to do it, Barack? And sometimes he became obstreperous. But what's important to understand is that these two have very long-standing relationships. Joe Biden's son, Bo Biden, during the funeral, Mitch McConnell was present. During Mitch McConnell's opening ceremony for his affairs center in Louisville, Joe Biden was there. So these are dates dating back a very long time. Robert Kumar, senior deputy chief of staff to McConnell, who sat in on three Biden-McConnell negotiations from over 3 years, said, "My memory is they actually get along really well. They have a lot of respect for one another. It helps that they speak the same language. They are senators." And as Mitch said in one of his speeches praising Biden during a 2016 speech, Joe Biden doesn't waste my time telling me why I'm wrong. So Wall Street's very excited about this. Right now, Wall Street's trading up about 300 points in the pre-market trading. Wall Street believes the deal is going to be coming very quickly and is actually very excited about this split party situation. The stocks are trading up significantly. The futures on the Dow Jones are up 319 points in pre-market trading, and that would suggest that the market's going to open up 300 points. And the S&P futures are climbing about 1.5, 1.1, and the Nasdaq futures are about 1.4 up. Brian Levitt, global strategist at Invesco, said in a note tonight, a Biden presidency with a Republican Senate would be unlikely to see increases in taxes, which is the biggest fear for investors about a Biden presidency. And a Biden presidency could mean a return to more traditional, predictable approaches to trade policy, which would be less volatile on the markets. I've been detailing that for you well. So Wall Street really sees that Joe Biden and Mitch are going to focus really first on stimulus, not on taxes, not on breaking up Google and Facebook, not on trade wars with China, and not on $7.1 trillion infrastructure bills. The first thing will be stimulus and also COVID relief. What's important to understand is that Joe Biden tomorrow will be introducing his task force. Yes, his task force. He's already determined a task force that will deal with the COVID-19 issue and stimulus relief. And that task force will be introduced during a press conference tomorrow. I detailed a little bit of them earlier today. What's important to understand is that Joe Biden is on the ground running, and he's on the ground getting this package done. When you're a transition president, you don't wait to after the transition to do things. You start from day one. In the case of, for example, the COVID pandemic group, they have been part of his transition, part of his campaign since day one. So he already has these people on staff. Presumably, he already has stimulus people on staff. The fact that stimulus relief became an issue, didn't just happen today. Joe's number one item on his transition site, which I'll be detailing on Check tonight at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time. Got to tune into that taped recording. It's going to be a massive recording. 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 Pacific Eastern Standard Time. Joe Biden has issued literally pages after pages after pages about what he's doing for stimulus on right away. It details not just the focus right now, but the focus going forward. It's coupled with COVID-19 relief. What will happen with PUA, says Marie? Absolutely. So PUA, FPUC, and UI all expiring within a few weeks. Student loan debt moratorium, rent eviction moratorium, mortgage forbearance, all expiring in a few weeks. And so that's what's incredibly important, is that you don't wait for them to expire after the fact. You don't go on vacation. We've done that before. What's important to understand is that Joe's on the ground running and running very quickly right now, and that these processes are in place and readily important. What I've been detailing throughout today's videos is important to understand is that everything is really quite different now. You have been sort of accustomed to very vocal, press oriented, loud The View, Colbert sort of grandstanding for a couple months. That's gone. Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell don't do this. What's important to understand is that there's a need to get things done right now. Now, what's important to understand is that as Mitch McConnell is not doing May Mitch, as I now call him. Remember May Mitch? May Mitch was, well, there's some good news. I need more news. I need more economic news. What's important to understand is that Wall Street tonight is actually talking about the good news that actually is not good news. And some analysts will say, oh, that's really good news. And every time I hear someone say that, I just get worried about stimulus. Because when someone says good news, bad news is good news, then I'm like, okay, we're doing fake narrative tonight. Yeah. So one person cited in CNBC tonight says the jobs report in October was terrific. We're probably clawed back half of the deficit in the labor market from that April, though. Uh, Fake. If you listen to Jerome Powell's comments from the Federal Reserve on Thursday and Friday before the FMOC, the jobs market is not back. The economy has not rebounded from where it was pre-pandemic. We need stimulus right now. And no, you should not be celebrating with the pom poms. The same quote, the same individual who gave that quote said, you got a divergence between the spike in infection, which is undeniable, but mortalities remain very low, and the divergence is important. Additionally, we're making strong progress on the vaccine. Again, fake narrative, because if you have infection rates high, you have lockdowns. So it doesn't matter if there's mortality rates are low. If you have high infection rates, you have lockdowns. And lockdowns mean shutting down businesses, needs unemployment benefits, needs stimulus checks, and more. So it's this type of quotes that I always worry about. But so far, we're not dealing with May Mitch. As Representative Durbin from Illinois says, which Mitch are we going to get? You just have to hope you're getting the Mitch you got now. And the great news is that you generally have one Joe Biden, and Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden, having dealt with each other for upwards of several decades, know the real version. So ultimately, if Joe gets a May Mitch, he will presumably, better than you or I know, get us back to the November Mitch, which is the Mitch that wants to put stimulus as the top priority within 24 hours from now on the Senate floor. Let me answer some of your questions. LA, can Trump turn down Biden's bill and Mitch's bill? Yes, he can, and that's the purpose of an overriding a veto. I detailed this on almost every video tonight, and I'm going to say it one more time. The way you do this is there's a thing called overriding a veto. And basically the way it happens is if you have Senate and House agreement on a bill, not Nancy shoving a bill down your throat. You have the House and Senate agreement upon a bill, real agreement that when you put the bill before the Senate floor, you have Senate Republicans and Senate Democrats voting on the bill. Then you have a very large number of yeses and a very small number of nos. We're not playing games anymore. Then it gets sent to Nancy's Dominion, the House, and it gets passed. Then it gets sent to the presidency. Then when the president said, "Oh, I hate Joe," no, I'm not signing it. Then it goes back to the Senate. It goes back to the place in which it originated. If it originated in the Senate, it goes back to the Senate first. Well, the Senate just almost had a unanimous vote about it. Guess what? It only needs 2/3. Then it goes back to Nancy's House. All the Democrats want it because presumably this is a bill that Joe would have done with Mitch. It goes back to Nancy's House. They only need 2/3. Done. Override the president. It's done. That's the way you get a bill approved without the president signing it. Hopefully this answers the question. I'm sure I'll be asked that question like 20 more times, but I'm here to educate you, inform you. In 5 to 10 minutes from now comes up the incredible recording of Being a Mitch. It's incredible because you're going to see more about why Joe and Mitch have the ability to get this done like you've never seen before. It's incredible, great news, and don't miss that in about 5 minutes from now, Being a Mitch. And then join me live on Purple Power Live at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, followed by a tape recording of a big broadcast that's going to bring in all this shocking, great news tonight about Shaq at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time. As always, stay informed, stay positive, and stay of LA for more.